Welcome. Today we're going to be talking about shedding light on the shadow. I really like the alliteration of that and the
Say that 10 times fast.
I know, shedding light on the shadow. It's very satisfying.
We will have an ASMR later.
Yes, I know, right? That sounds so good. Mostly, one of the things that, is really important as a modern mystic is to understand when things are popping up that we need to deal with, whether it's spiritually or emotionally or psychologically. And it's really hard to sometimes pick that out from our general programming or our family dynamics or what we think we should be as spiritual people and that kind of thing. And so today we wanted to talk about something that people don't always like to talk about. Which,
avoid like the plague.
Yes, exactly. Which is the shadow part of ourselves. And we don't mean like Peter Pan shadow that's like, needs to be sewn back on because it gets away from him. Like, not like that. I think the most important thing about the shadow part of ourselves, and we'll talk a little bit more what it means, is just that we all have it. We just do. And there's something about being able to learn from, shed light on, and maybe even shift that is really, really important as modern mystics to move forward and to grow and to continue to try to become more than just, I don't know, people just kind of surviving, if that makes sense.
It does. My favorite image when I'm talking about shadow with people is the yin yang symbol. We are 50% shadow and 50% light. And denying half of who you are, you're not being a whole you.
That's so true.
When I started studying astrology, I was pretty much like every person I've ever met. Shadow is bad. Please stay away. I don't want to deal with that. I'll cry or I'll, right? I just
be
didn't.
Too vulnerable.
Yeah. Or, ooh, shadow, darkness. That's bad. I'm supposed to be all not that.
Right.
And astrology really emphasizes that you're a whole being. You have every sign, you have every planet. Everybody has those shadow placements. Don't know where they're at personally for you, but you have them. And that you're meant to have them. And that helped me shift a little bit. Maybe it's not so scary that I could dip my toe in those waters a little bit.
Yeah. I think also we're just taught sometimes that either unpleasant things are not really talked about or we keep things kind of under wraps or we put our best foot forward. There's just so many things about it, like showing the messy part of ourselves or the less developed part of ourselves or whatever can sometimes be scary and definitely vulnerable. But and I'm a Capricorn and we don't like to be embarrassed.
For real.
It's very kind of like the cardinal rule of being a Capricorn is A, we don't like to waste our time, and B, we don't like to be embarrassed. So for a long time, I thought any of my shadow aspects would just be embarrassing.
Interesting.
And so, when I first learned about this, I was like, oh, but I'm not going to talk about it. Like maybe I'll journal about it or I'll think about it, but I'm not going to talk about what's wrong with me because that's basically what I thought it was, like broken pieces, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But that's definitely not what it is. And I think the analogy with astrology is perfect because we really do just have all of those. We have all these pieces and they're all in different places. And some things we actually came here to work out. Maybe part of our even mission of, on this earth is to like learn and move and shift things and deal with them basically. And certainly as modern mystics, putting our heads in the sand is maybe not the most authentic way to go about
I
life.
was also thinking effective.
Oh,
Is it
yes,
very
that too.
effective?
Yeah. No, it doesn't
So
help.
maybe we should start with defining shadow. I
Perfect.
really love this quote that you got for us with Carl
Oh.
Jung. If you want to share your quote.
Oh, okay. Um, yeah, it's by psychologist Carl Jung, and it is one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious.
I just the that is shadow work in one sentence. It's so succinct and so well put. I mean, yes, he did do this for his entire life's work, so I'm glad he could do that in a sentence. That's wonderful. Um, but to me, I really like this play with the light and dark, and moving into darkness as consciousness. Making that consciousness is the powerful embodiment of what shadow work can give you.
I
It
love that.
expands your consciousness. And to me, that is enlightenment.
I agree.
Like the drawings, or the, I don't know what you want to call them, where it's like, this is you, this is what you're aware of, this is everything else, and you're like a tiny speck, right?
Yes.
And if I could just expand that tiny speck, even if it's stepping into the darkness,
Yes.
that interests me.
I love that. The shadow is definitely where I think it's sometimes equated with darkness, especially when we use it in contrast to light or enlightenment. But it doesn't have to be dark. Sometimes it can just be undeveloped parts of ourselves. Sometimes it can be parts of ourselves that maybe we just don't really want to show or don't feel comfortable showing. And sometimes it can be dark and twisty stuff
Yeah.
that we have to deal with. But I don't think everything in our shadow is, you know, super scary or, um, I don't know, supernatural or, like things like that. I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the time you'll find the shadow in the places where we should ourselves, right? Where we
Yes.
go, oh, I should be quieter. I should be, I don't know, more cooperative. I should, and so if you find yourself shoulding, then you might want to like look at, oh, where does that come from? And what does it mean?
What I was, as you were talking about the shooting, in my experience, now this doesn't mean this is how it will work for you, right? That's the caveat. In my experience, the should is usually the first layer of shadow we have access to. And those are usually, generally, conditioned within us in childhood, societal norms and expectations, and even we see something externally and we internalize some decision about that. So it's a form of conditioning, but we do it to ourselves.
Absolutely.
So I think that's usually the first layer that your psyche's like, well, that's the dipping the toe layer of I should be this, I should hide this, I should be embarrassed about this about myself. Like I never wear open-toed shoes because I have the things where your toes like curl down and it really bothers me
Mm,
like a lot because I watched another kid when I was little get made fun of for that.
mm,
And I will sometimes wear sandals, but it's rare. Even now, even when I've done a ton of shadow work, that's never been a priority. So I don't know that I've delved into that, but the little tiny things that you think, who cares? They are affecting your psyche. That I
absolutely.
feel shame or embarrassment about some part of my body, that's shadow work.
I agree. I also think as people who are trying to lead spiritual lives, what we're looking for is connection. And if
Mm.
the shadow remains un uh, enlightened, then it can become something that disconnects us from other people or from ourselves or from something bigger than us, whether that's a purpose or a deity or whatever, because it's something that kind of holds us apart. And the more we're dealing with that, the more we can connect. I find it so fascinating when people share their stresses, their, trials, their challenges, so many people, a lot more people than not, are empathetic or sympathetic, and sometimes they relate. And so there's something about sharing our shadow, or at least acknowledging it and that kind of thing, that really can bring us closer to other people, because maybe they have dealt with something similar. And so that's a connection point for us that's really important.
I love that. And uh, tying this into the hero's journey, maybe in a little different way. I don't know if you guys know the hero's journey story, so maybe we could summarize that really quick. So it is in myth, there's like a format that, say, Hercules or any other hero in myths around the globe goes through. They start with a task and they're given an assignment of some sort, and they must enter through this hard challenge of an underworld journey. So they enter the darkness and they go through trials and tribulations in the darkness. And the way I was taught the method of the hero's journey is, I think it's hilarious. They get something, but they steal it. It's a stolen thing, and then they have to book it out of and make it out, barely escaping with their lives, but they've got this prize, this magical thing from deep within the shadow. And I like two things about that. One, you as a human being are a piece of the whole. You're just one piece, but you're that whole piece. You don't get to be the top layer or the middle layer. You're the whole piece. So there is a underworld within you. And secondly, he doesn't bring the entire shadow out with him. He brings one piece.
Mm.
We may not change any of it from being the dark half of ourselves. It may stay that, but being conscious, I'm conscious about my toes. I'm aware of that piece of shadow, so I don't let it dictate in my everyday life. I try and contain, this is your issue. You don't need to tell other people to wear closed-toe shoes. You don't need to be going around spreading your shadow
Right.
and infecting it onto other people.
Right.
Let's keep that with you. And the treasure that shadow work is, the gift that it gives us, is the tool that unlocks us in this lifetime.
I love that. I feel like the hero's journey you're probably going to see in almost any movie, book,
Yes,
TV you
true.
see, because there's always like a sort of naive hero, and we have to go through all these challenges, but then we grow, and then, at the end we get our prize, like you said. And I feel like, and when you look at the major arcana in tarot cards, it is the journey. It's the fool's journey, the hero's journey, same kind of thing. And it was that term was also coined by Carl Jung, as like a way to move through different challenges that life brings us. But it really is the way we deal with the shadow. We go, okay, I don't exactly know what I'm doing, but I'm willing. And then I'm going to start on this journey, and I'm probably going to encounter some weird monsters or challenges or crazy topography on my way or whatever. But I'm going to meet the challenges and be able to handle it. And I think there's something really, we're always rooting for the hero in the hero's journey.
Yeah.
I always want Dorothy to steal that Wicked Witch's broom and be able to get back home to Kansas. And I always want Frodo to return the ring. And like all those things, you always like really root for that person. And so I think in doing shadow work, making sure you keep rooting for yourself is important too.
I love that image of Frodo returning the ring. If any of you don't know, we're talking about the Lord of the Rings. But my point I want to make here for our modern mystic community is Frodo has Sam.
Mm.
And every time I watch that movie, I get a little choked up of what a hero Sam is. He's not the star
true.
of that story,
Right.
but he is just as much the hero. He carries Frodo when he's too weak to carry himself.
Yes.
and being part of a community where you can lean on each other as you go through that shadow journey. I'm so glad you brought up
Ah,
that image. We're here.
that whole fellowship.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it was called, the
Yes.
Fellowship of the Ring. And so,
Yes.
I mean, and they all had a part to play and they all had
Correct.
different things to do. And I feel like, yeah, your own community can be such a help in your, especially when you're feeling a little stretched, especially if you're feeling like you're in very unfamiliar territory. Sometimes other people can help be your guides or just your cheerleaders or carry you a little
Yep.
bit. And I think that's really important because even though you're dealing with your own personal shadow aspects, that doesn't mean other people can't help.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing I love about Sam and Frodo is even when Frodo stops trusting Sam, because it's easy to maybe share your shadow with someone who you trust and trusts you, and you have this nice flow, but Frodo stops trusting Sam, and Sam doesn't change.
Right.
He holds space in that friendship for Frodo to change in a very dark way, and he doesn't abandon him.
Yep.
So I love the imagery of how we can help each other deal with our shadow, even if we get a little angry or cantankerous or turn dark.
Or lose hope in ourselves or lose
Yes.
belief in ourselves. You have other people to kind of hold that for you or keep a big picture when you're getting stuck in the weeds, you know? So,
Yes.
yeah, I think that's really important.
Not that I'm suggesting it's your job to carry anyone else's shadow the way Sam carried Frodo. Please don't interpret it that way. That is
No,
not
we're
the
not
point.
literal. Yeah, exactly. I love that. But I think there's been discussion of shadow in all kinds of mythology and all kinds of mysticism throughout the world, and talking about confronting or inviting, depending on
Yes.
what tradition it is. There are lots of indigenous cultures that do things like sweat lodges to be able to call forth that shadow and shift it. There's a lot of different practices where people try to confront their issues through fire walking, through different kinds of quests, or like rites of passage also are good ways to confront the shadow. So it's been a part of it's confronting our own fears or our own insecurities or our own weaknesses, whatever you want to call it, has been in pretty much every spiritual tradition. So we're just putting a 20th century spin with Carl Jung on something that has been going on forever.
Yeah, as you were listing through the things that shadow can be, one of the things that I think shadow often is, again, at that entry level, is what we reject about ourselves. I'm not an angry person. I don't get angry. I'm nice, right? Like those are things that we were taught were
Yes.
taboo or bad. And so we are not that.
Right.
I'm not that. And so the rejection is often a way for you to see your own shadow, because we can see easily, like when someone will do something like like you have it written as a trigger, when outside of you, someone will do something that you think is, they're so angry
Yep.
publicly. That may be shadow work for you.
Yes, absolutely.
That's a good way to get started on this path of watching how you respond to other people being themselves.
Absolutely. And sort of inwardly, I think we also take our shadow and project it onto others. So with your toes and your
Yes.
shoes,
Yes.
you might be like, well, everyone just needs to cover their feet and then I'll feel so much better, you know?
Yes.
But so you
Yes.
could be like, okay, well, I only talk to people that cover their toes. You know what I mean? Or,
Yeah.
and I
Yes.
know that's really unreasonable, but there's a lot of different people that are like, well, I can't really talk to you unless you believe what I believe or you voted for who I voted
Exactly.
for. And all of those things are kind of projections of not me sometimes, you know?
Yep.
And I'm not saying sometimes that isn't also kind of setting a boundary
True.
depending on, the relationship or the dynamic, but noticing where you are having maybe very rigid boundaries or stances is a good way to look to see like what's underneath that. Is that something I'm trying to not deal with? Is
Yeah.
that something I'm trying to push away? So I push away anybody who has that.
Yep.
And I think that's an important distinction to make.
Well, and two other points of that is expectations, one. When you catch yourself expecting other people to live your values, your ideals, there may be shadow under there.
Yes.
And second, you might find yourself acting protectively because I might not be, oh, I don't want to associate with you, but I might say, oh no, you'll get made fun of. Please put these shoes on.
Yes.
Protecting other people from your shadow.
Yes. That's so true.
It can show up like that. Oh, you can't date him because I dated a guy named that once and he was awful. Right? Or a girl.
Exactly. And I'm just trying to save you
Yes, from
the
this
dealing
pain.
yeah. Hmm.
So if you catch yourself protecting people from things they didn't ask to be protected from, that may
Yes.
be your shadow.
That is so true. I also think we just inwardly we will have a feeling of like beating ourselves up a little bit or like being disappointed in ourselves. And sometimes that's very internalized from someone else. That's where our shoulds can come in. But you'll just have this feeling of like, well, I'm not living up to my own expectations, or I'm not living up to what I think other people want me to. And there's an inner frustration or disappointment that comes in, and that can sometimes point to the shadow as well. I just had an experience where I traveled abroad, pardon me, and my and I have two very bad knees, so I'm very slow. And I needed a little bit of help. I needed a little bit of extra time. Sometimes I needed a ride instead of walking long distances, things like that. And I found myself being really frustrated that I needed help, which is silly because I can't do anything about my bad knees. You know what I mean? Like that's just how they are. And but I remember getting that frustrated feeling like, ugh, I don't want anyone to worry about me. I don't want anyone to have to slow down for me. I don't want anyone to have to make accommodations for me. I'm supposed to keep up. And then I realized that that was my own expectations, because literally nobody said anything like that to me. Nobody was like, why can't you just keep up, Jennafer? But in my head, I was like, why can't I just keep up? And so it's fascinating because I feel like I sort of thought other people's expectations were happening whether they were voiced or not. And then I was sort of beating myself up or feeling frustrated that I wasn't meeting expectations that hadn't even been voiced. And so I think like sometimes when you're having that inner like, oh, why am I, but sometimes I have that when I'm late too. Because again, there's that. And the shadow part of that is I shouldn't be a bother. I shouldn't be slowing anyone else down. Like the belief underneath all of that is this kind of, I should be able to keep up and not be the straggler or whatever. When in reality, nobody cared if they had to go a little slower for me. And nobody was like, oh, this is so annoying. Or, you know what I mean? And everything was fine. But in my mind or in my being, I kept having to sort of confront this, I shouldn't need help feeling. And so I think there's a lot of things you can find just from sort of your inner frustration that can be a really good indication that you might be dealing with shadow.
Yes, and like I'm sure there were personal experiences in your life that led to that, but on top of it, just general societal conditioning when we were children was don't inconvenience people.
Yes,
So you can see how a personal experience plus societal expectations can deeply ingrain and become shadow.
absolutely.
And if, as I'm sure you're getting to know Jennafer, she is delightful company. They were probably thrilled for extra time with you in reality.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank
That's
you.
probably she is amazing. You're so kind.
Thank
You're
you.
so patient and thoughtful. As a tour guide, you would be my favorite. And guess
Thank you.
what? They see all those attractions every single day. They were probably thrilled to have a slower day.
Actually, I think that actually was true.
Yeah.
But it's so fascinating because I think one of the good things about that was I sort of had to also deal with my ego. And you can kind of tell when the shadow is creeping in, sometimes through ego as well. Like
Mm-hmm.
your ego says, "Oh, I need to present myself a certain way." And when I was like really going through or like digging deep on that shadow,
Mm-hmm.
I kept feeling like all kinds of societal things like, well, I'm an American and I'm traveling in a different place, and maybe I'm coming across as like a weird entitled American. Or,
Ew, ew, ew. I don't want to be
yes,
that.
I know, right?
Right.
I don't want to like
Yeah.
misrepresent my country. Nobody cares except me. But anyway, and then the other thing I kept getting was, I'm supposed to be more put together than this, right? Like I'm not supposed to be kind of messy or slower or that kind of thing. Like I'm supposed to just put my best foot forward and be okay. And that is totally my ego and my ego adopting probably like both societal norms and also like just my family norms,
Mm-hmm.
where we put on our lipstick and go, that kind of thing.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I think there were a lot of things underneath that I was like, wow, there's way more to this than just I don't want to be a bother, and there's a lot going on there.
Yeah. I'm so glad you said lipstick. That just triggered a whole thing for me. And I'm going to let you share the technical with John Wellwood and all of that.
Oh, okay.
And then I want to share my lipstick story about
Oh,
this.
okay.
Yes.
Does it have to do with that? Oh,
Yes.
awesome. Well, one of the things that happens in modern spiritualism is that we kind of we don't talk about the dark. We just focus on the light. And that's okay to a degree, but spirituality is about connecting to all of us and developing all of us, not just being like kind of um positive all the time or always putting a positive spin on it. And there are many people that only focus on the light and they just don't even want to talk about the dark or the possibilities.
You're bringing the dark to them if you mention
Yes,
it. How dare you say that
that's
you're
so
having trouble
true.
walking? Now I'm creating you having trouble walking.
Yes. And this has been kind of a term by John Wellwood, a psychologist, and he calls it spiritual bypassing. And that way it means like you're using things like some kind of spiritual belief or maybe like meditation or prayer or even just love and light language as a way to avoid dealing with deeper or more difficult wounds, emotions, trauma, unresolved psychological issues, that kind of thing. And it feels like the right thing to do at first. I mean, why
Hmm.
wouldn't you focus on the good stuff or the lessons or the light? But at the end of the day, we can sort of unintentionally or maybe intentionally, depending on where we're at, push away the exact parts of ourselves that really need healing and that need that spiritual connection to be able to grow.
Yeah. So, okay, my lipstick story. I was raised and taught that you never know when you're going to have a first impression, and you should always put your best foot forward. Well, that was fine for most of my life. And then I was getting married to my husband, Scott, and my sister and my brother in law, the night before he arrived to my home, um, the morning of that he was getting there, they both said to me, "You look like you're dead. Go put some makeup on. He's not going to like you."
Oh,
And I was like, "Oh no, he won't like me? What?" So I got ready. And then he didn't get there till like 2 a.m. anyways. And I had already taken off my makeup and it didn't matter. But that cemented in my psyche this idea that not only do you need to put your best foot forward, that includes makeup because you'll look dead. I have clear eyelashes, clear eyebrows. Was very, very, very blonde as a little kid. Always had that. And I can see what they were saying. I get that they're like, start this out where he thinks you're beautiful and amazing. He can see the ugly parts of you later. Well, Scott had already seen all the ugly parts of me, or I wouldn't have been marrying him. Let's just start there. So, ew. But when I decide to finally confront this as I got older, I got married at 19. Don't recommend. But when I got older and I'm like, that's gross. Why am I carrying that around? Especially between Scott and I. Why am I carrying that around? Ew. I did some spiritual bypassing. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to use getting ready as a ritual to imbue it with magic as like a protective spell.
Oh, interesting.
So getting ready is protection. It's not about that I just bypassed. I didn't heal anything. I just said, it's not about that anymore. Now it's about this.
So it's kind of like, I'll just push this to the side and I'll focus on what I want it to be instead of
I'm
this
going to
thing
change
that's
the meaning.
kind of
So this
back
isn't
here.
existing now.
Nice. Yeah.
Untrue. This still existed until I healed it. I liked the ritual of using makeup as a protector, that people will see the part of me that I desire to be seen in different interactions, or that people will see the part of me that is most helpful and that they can receive me best. And I use it that way to this day, but I do still sometimes catch myself going, oh, I can't, my makeup's come off, or, and I'll be like, oh, okay, that's okay. And I force myself to go out, not done, because I'm fine without makeup.
Right.
It's fine.
And I'm
That's
pretty
my
sure
face.
no one has been like, you know what, we don't like you because you don't have eyeliner on.
No, in fact, usually it's the reverse, because I so rarely do it. People are like, oh, you like me, you trust me, because you don't have this pretend persona on.
I love that.
So you can very easily slip into bypassing without even realizing you're doing it.
That is fantastic.
The brain is sneaky. It wants to keep the programs it has in place because they've kept you alive. They've been working for you.
Yes.
So be aware that bypassing doesn't have to be a conscious thought of, I'm going to bypass this. Usually it's not.
That's true. It's a coping skill.
It is. That was too painful to look at, that people would not like me because my face was my face.
Right.
Ooh.
I know, right? I love also when you delve into shadow, how sometimes the beliefs that are underneath it are so illogical.
Yes.
But they mean so much to you, and they're just super ingrained. But I think, whether we, kind of unconsciously bypass or we do it consciously, pushing, the shadow aside is not really going to make it go away. And so we can, I don't know, burn a lot of sage or meditate a lot or do whatever rituals we want. But sometimes if we keep the unconscious pushed away, it can creep up in other ways. It can become kind of almost like part of our facade that we're putting forward towards people. And it makes us a little less authentic. It makes us a little less connected to ourselves. And being connected to who we truly are is a very important part of spirituality. And modern mystics don't have to just connect to something bigger than them. They have to connect to who they are individually, uniquely. Like, what do I have to offer this world? Which is sometimes messy or unformed or not quite as polished as we'd like or whatever. But I think sometimes we worry more, like especially with your story, we just kind of worry that, well, we're supposed to be this so that we're likable. We're supposed to be, and as humans, when we're younger, we don't want to be rejected by our family because we literally depend on them. And then as we get older and our, tribe or community becomes bigger, we still kind of worry that we're going to get shunned or, people aren't going to think what we are is acceptable, that kind of thing. I think one of the things that is really, I don't know, is appealing about avoiding is that it might feel kind of safe. at
Hmm.
least temporarily, but honestly, the shadow isn't there to like chase us and stress us out. It's there to usually teach us something about ourselves.
That, exactly, exactly that. To fully embrace that part of you is darkness. Like we joke in society now about intrusive thoughts. Usually people are not joking about positive intrusive thoughts.
Right. They are not.
They're joking about dark
Yes.
intrusive thoughts because we have so rejected that there's darkness in us.
Yes.
It's there. It's in all of us.
It's so true. And
So
sometimes it's,
embrace it. Yes. Sorry, go ahead.
oh no, I was going to say, I think that darker aspects of ourselves are still important. There's
Very.
just because, maybe as society, we kind of equate shadow with darkness and darkness with danger or, not being safe or whatever. In this case, in spirituality, working with your shadow is just becoming more fully you. And so the
Mm-hmm.
lessons that your spiritual or the lessons that your shadow teaches you help further your spirituality. And I think that's really important.
I agree. I'm going to tell myself one of my most common intrusive thoughts. It's crimes. So I really shouldn't tell it myself, but it is a common intrusive thought. At the grocery store, I live in a state, Utah, where there are a lot of young moms with a lot of children. Often common to see a mom with 3 to 5 children under the age of 5. That's hard, right? That's a lot of kids for a mom to keep eyes on.
Yeah.
But my pet peeve is a mom with an infant in the cart with her back turned talking to another adult. It everything in me revolts at that. Just watch your kid. You don't know that I'm not, this is the intrusive thought. I should just take her kid and walk her up to the front desk and turn her kid in.
Whoa.
I I want to do it every time. I'm not kidding. I really want to do it because I'm like, I'm saving this child's life. You're going to lose your kid. Do you not even care? And also, I've been her. I had 5 kids under 5. I have 3. I only have 3 children. I don't know why I said 5. I had 3 kids under 5, but I was so paranoid someone would take them. I would have never done that.
Right.
I didn't do that. And this, I have a T square in my chart with Saturn and Moon. So Moon is mother, Saturn is right, and can be about boundaries and control. And that is shadow in me. It pops out. I will make you do the right thing. Dude, if the universe is going to teach her the lesson of losing her child, that's between her and the universe.
Yes.
It is not my job to enforce rules about how to be a mother for anyone. And generally, I'm the most compassionate person to talk to about mothering, except that. Don't leave your children unwatched in a grocery store. There's people that want to do bad things. So, again, out of that desire to protect, my shadow pops.
I think that happens a lot with women in general, not just moms.
Yes.
But we expect women to lock their doors. We expect women
Yes.
not to walk down
Don't be alone.
dark, but alone. Like, don't walk down dark alleys alone. Don't, lock your doors and your windows.
How
Like
dare
all
you
these things.
jog on a trail by
I know.
yourself?
Yes. And under that is a shadow that women are not safe and that their safety is somehow up to them. So I think the idea of not that it comes up as like we're asking for this, but
Right.
that we didn't do enough to take care of ourselves. That happens a lot.
Yeah, me.
Yeah.
Because there's bad people, Mom.
Yes.
Be perfect.
Yes.
Don't ever have an off second because you might lose a child.
So true.
That's really gross.
Yeah.
But that's in me. That's definitely it. If I see it, that comes out. No matter how many times I've been like, Lola, stop it. They're fine. If you're so worried, stand here and watch the kid till she turns around. Give her
Fair.
a break.
Yep.
That's usually what I do, unless I'm in a huge hurry. I do hall monitor that
If
baby.
you don't do that, don't admit it
No,
on
I
the
don't.
podcast because
Well, I
we
do.
just don't want everyone to have to be called to testify against you
Yes,
if you ever snatch a kid.
I won't ever do that. Because again, doing the right thing is paramount in my psyche.
Yeah.
So that will win out. Luckily I have that
Yes.
wiring. There would be a lot of taking kids up to
Yep.
the customer service.
Yes. That's so true. I think there are a lot of little things, pardon me, like I just say it's like, I don't know, either my grandparents or my parents or their voices live in my head.
Right.
So there's a lot of that
The
too.
inner critic is what you're talking
Yes.
about.
Yes. And the inner critic can be a great kind of indicator that the shadow might be popping up. Like if you're feeling too much or you're not enough um, or any of those things that are sort of outside whatever you think the margins of are.
How dare you go at your own pace?
Yes, exactly. Or in spirituality, maybe I'm not spiritual enough, or, like that kind of thing. Just, I think when they pop up, you don't have to just stop everything and start digging and that kind of thing. Just notice them at first, just let them come up. And then there's something about bringing things to the forefront of your consciousness that shifts them kind of automatically, or at least makes you more aware of them. And so you don't have to just sit down and dig in and do all your shadow work every single moment it pops up. Just go, oh, I wonder where that came from. Almost like, like you're a little detective and you're trying to figure out like why things are popping in your brain, that kind of thing. And
Like
I think that's a good start.
it is throughout this podcast. What of the shadow I've brought up? Well, judging people. Okay. We're ignoring that one. My toes, my makeup. I'm like, oh, do I have shadow work to do on body image? Maybe, because that's what's popping up today. So even if you just notice
Fascinating.
what's popping up,
Yep.
then you could, not that I'm saying meditate to bypass, but get centered and focused on, hey, body, hey, soul, is there some shadow work on body image that I need to take care of? And then get real quiet and listen.
I agree. I
You
also
can ask.
Yes, you can totally do that. You can ask that before you go to sleep and see if something pops up in your dreams.
Love that.
You can do it as like a journaling prompt and go, okay, what is it I need to do? And see kind of, what pops up while you're writing, or doing a little automatic writing, which is kind of writing without necessarily thinking about what you're writing and seeing what pops up. I also think that some people do what they call mirror work, where they just talk to themselves in the mirror. Like, what is it about this that's stressing me out? What is it about this that's making me so frustrated? Extreme emotions also are really great key that maybe we're hitting a nerve, or there might be some shadow work to do, that kind of thing. But honestly, I also feel like aside from dream work, you could do that in meditative work too. Like maybe I need to meditate on what's coming up for me, or what came up for me in that interaction, or that kind of thing. When I was dealing with my limitations in Kenya, I wrote a lot, because there's something about getting like things out of my head and onto paper that helps me make better sense of them. And I also talked to a friend who has a similar issue with mobility. And I was like, do you ever feel like blah, blah, blah? And she was like, I totally do. And it's worse when this happens. And I'm like, yes. And so it was nice to have, somebody to bounce things off of too, especially if you've got like good people in your community, tribe, family, friend circle, or spiritual community that are really good at kind of giving feedback or being sounding boards, that people can be really, really helpful too.
Another tool that I like to use is nature. I look, and I'm big into symbolism, right? That's kind of my thing. So the animals or the trees that I pass, messages sometimes are there for me. They mean different things, right? And I also use symbolism with numerology, or I can do tarot. I can do a tarot reading on shadow work. Tarot's great for shadow, like
I agree.
really great for shadow. So there's all kinds of ways to access this. And one we haven't mentioned is water. So taking a bath and just being with your body. Sometimes the body remembers everything. And so it can reveal shadow to you also.
I love that. Water is an energy conductor
Mm-hmm.
and a good place to feel a little like a weightless so that you're
Mm-hmm.
not really worrying about it. Or even just like standing in the shower and
Yep.
kind of letting that, the water happen. That's a great idea. I also think if you're going to journal or draw a card or whatever, you could ask yourself, what would my inner child say about
I
this?
love
Like
that.
different parts of yourself, right? Like what would my 13-year-old self say about this? Or what would my inner critic say about this? Because the inner critic will very happily tell you what it thinks, like,
Yes.
most of the time. And then you can kind of look at what comes out in that work and just be very compassionate and kind with yourself about it so that you're not feeling a, a need to fix it. Just understand it better, where it came from, and try to give a lot of love to that part of you, not to whitewash or to bypass,
Right.
but to be able to just have a lot of compassion and hold some good space for yourself to see what's coming up, why it's coming up, what maybe you could shift it to, that kind of thing.
With the inner child, this just popped up for me really quick, was if the inner child is like, well, you know, I hate this because this happened when I was little, right? It will bring back those memories of why you developed that shadow in the
Yeah.
first place. Often, all it takes to release shadow like that is one, to acknowledge them, to let them be heard and seen, and then ask them what they need. Ask your inner child, what do you need? And often it will just, that shadow piece will go away.
Mm.
It will integrate back into you because it's been seen and heard. Sometimes shadow work is that easy. So don't be afraid that, oh my gosh, I'm going to fall apart. This is going to tear me
Right.
in two. It actually usually feels like a relief when you can integrate a piece of shadow. So I wanted to make sure
I love
you're not
that.
running away.
I love that.
Yeah,
I would even go so far as to say that the shadow part of ourselves is just as sacred as the light part of ourselves. And so treating it as such is really important. It has a way to help us, it has messages for us, it has lessons, it has so many things that can enrich us instead of detract from us. And as I've gotten older, I'm not as afraid of being messy as I used to be. I feel like we connect better as messy beings. If
true.
everybody was like perfect all the time, we'd be like, well, I just can't be like that. So I don't really relate. And we have a lot of that happens sometimes with like social media or people putting their best foot forward. And before there was social media, we had that in like media with
Hmm.
people, being made up and airbrushed and people feeling like I need to look like that. And, there's all kinds of like pressure that comes from perfection, but imperfection is a beautiful thing that we all have in common, no matter what.
Yeah.
And so we can really meet in different places where even if we haven't had the same experiences that have made the same kind of shadow aspects, we can really, really connect on ways that we've shifted or used that to grow or planted something else in it, like it's fertile soil, and decided, okay, I'm going to reclaim that for myself, and it's not going to be about that anymore. And so for me, in on my trip, I I just changed my stress into an affirmation, and
Hmm.
I said, I have the right to go at whatever pace I need to go at
Mm.
to honor my body. And that's basically every time those little shadow parts creeped up, I went back to that kind of affirmation. And and I think it's really funny that I had to give myself permission to do that when other people are just like going through the world, taking up space, going at whatever pace they want.
Right. Right.
But I'm glad I did, because it showed me that I could claim that for myself,
Hmm.
and I could look at something that started out as frustrating and a little painful and become something that was very empowering.
That is amazing.
I love that.
I really appreciate, again, the simplicity. I took this fear, this shame,
Yeah.
this part of me that's I don't want to be. And then I integrated and empowered it
Yes.
through something as simple as words and affirmation.
Yep.
You didn't have to change your whole life. You didn't have to go to 8 years of therapy. You
I
just
didn't sweep it under the rug.
No. Yes, you journaled about it, you
Yep.
spoke with someone about it, and then you created a solution
Yep.
that was functional for you in your everyday life.
Absolutely.
Because you can use that tool every day going forward.
Absolutely. Yeah. Every
That's
time
so
I get a
cool.
little bit, I don't know, self-conscious or whatever.
Yeah.
I totally can.
You're allowed to go at your pace. I love that.
Yeah. I
Not
think,
only are you allowed, you're meant to.
yeah, absolutely. And it's fascinating because when I hurt my knee originally, I, I wasn't able to walk fast anymore, even after it healed. And I was like, I kind of like the symbolism of I have to slow down.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes if I have to slow down and people have to slow down with me, that can be good for them too.
Yep.
So you never know how you're you're dealing with your shadow is also a part of someone else's lesson, right?
Yep.
Like you just
Yes.
never know, or someone else's enhancement or spiritual growth. So it's
That's
pretty
so
fascinating.
true. So we are interconnected.
Yes.
And when we show up in authentic living, the universe, that's what the universe wants from you. It wants you to be you, nothing else, just you.
So
and when
true.
you show up as you, which the universe is expecting,
Yes.
then the interconnectedness takes off it becomes a profound journey where your healing enhances others' healing, the ripples. You start
Yes.
to see the ripples of who you are affecting all that is. It's powerful.
I agree. And I wouldn't have thought that was possible when you're talking about things that are like imperfect or messy
Right.
or not socially acceptable or bordering on criminal activity, things like that. But why not, right? Like why the longer I practice spirituality, the more I realize that just being real
Yes.
and being, honest is the best way to show up spiritually.
Yes. Yeah. Honestly, in my opinion, if we're talking about spirituality, do you think you're fooling yourself or the everything?
Right.
You're not.
No.
So there is no other way to actually be spiritual
Yep, that's true.
than authentically you.
I love that. That's beautiful.
I really want you to share your quote from Rumi. I adore this.
Oh, I really love I love the poet Rumi in general. There's so many wonderful poems by Rumi, but the quote that I think is really appropriate for us talking about the shadow is that the wound is the place where the light enters you. So it makes the crack, that where you can bring lightness to your shadow, and I think that's really beautiful.
Mm. Okay. Thank you for joining us. Please reflect, please meditate, journal, take a shower, a bath, go to a lake, walk in nature, whatever it is you're going to do. Please reflect on your own shadow and share with us. Let's be Sam for each other. Let's be that safe space where we can be ourselves authentically.
Absolutely. You never know what ripple effects your sharing is going to have. And on our Patreon, on the Modern Mystic Folk Patreon, we'll have some journaling prompts that can help you get in touch with and bring some light to your shadow aspects.
So subscribe and leave a review if you wouldn't
Please.
mind. And today's podcast was brought to you by
Readings and More by Jennafer.
and Astrology Phoenix. Thank you so much.